Hello, this is Sun Tzu for On Gamers, and I'm here with Thijs from Meet Your Makers. Now, when you joined this organization, it has a long-standing history in esports. It was especially for the Dota community, it's a very, very important name. Were you aware of the importance of the organization when you first joined up?
Yeah, when I first joined, I'm actually really new in this world community. But when I knew about the history of Meet Your Makers, and it's one of the biggest organizations in Europe and has a really long name. So I was really happy that I could join Meet Your Makers actually when I performed really well in the community tournaments. Yeah, that's it for.
Yeah, and as you said, you've had an extraordinary run online. You are a great king of the hill player. You've got a lot of these SOTAC wins under your belt, stuff like that. These represent two very different styles of sort of picking your decks and choosing what kind of decks to run. One is very personal, just one opponent, and the other is more against a broad field. How was it? This feels like it's somewhere in between. How was finding that balance for you going into this tournament?
Okay, yeah, the King of the Hill and SOTACs are way different. Like King of the Hill, you know your opponent before you start the game. So I prepare always really good for my opponents. Everyone has a bit. If you prepare well against them, you can bring some decks that are really good for the matchup. So I always take other decks into my King of the Hill matches just against my opponents. In SOTAC, yeah, it's an open tournament, open bracket, open. It's best of 3. So you need to go with comfortable decks and decks that you always have to be. You need to have decks that can get you back into the game when you are 1-0 behind or something. And yeah, in the first SOTACs I went a lot with my Druid. I really like the Druid. It's my favorite class. And it had a lot of success just for me, my own Druid deck actually. And for here, yeah, this tournament is my first big LAN experience, and yeah, it is so way different from just a community tournament from your PC at home. I'm really impressed by all the stuff here, and yeah, it's really awesome, and I'm really happy that I could be here as a seeded player.
How did you handle the pressure? Or do you feel any pressure going up on that big stage or like in front of that crowd of people? How was that for you?
The first game I felt a lot of pressure. I was really nervous actually, also on the iPad. I didn't play on the iPad. Only on the first day I played half an hour or 1 hour to practice on the iPad. So I was a bit nervous in the first game, but after that it was actually okay. I didn't feel a lot of pressure. The most people saw me as an underdog. Some people were like, yeah, he's a really good player. He wins a lot of tournaments. He wins against some really big opponents. But I didn't saw myself as one of the favorite players. My target was just to survive the group stage. That was where I was focused for my decks, just for the group stage. And yeah, I went out of the group stage, so that was already happy for me. Everything after the group stage will be a bonus for me, actually.
Okay. Now I can tell you, like, as you said, you went into this very raw and with a lot of pressure, but you performed brilliantly. You took games. You won Nimsh, who is such an established name in the community, and I talked to him afterwards. And he said he was really impressed by you. What does it mean, sort of, or how is it going up against someone who you know is so experienced, especially when you are still feeling those nerves?
Yeah, I was still feeling those nerves. Like I won against him in the King of the Hill. That was why he was really impressed, because I had really decks that I just counter him totally. And yeah, when I knew that I was playing against him in the group of Dreamhack, I knew he would be way more prepared for me. That was for sure for me. But yeah, I feel comfortable actually against him. I knew a bit what he will play here. Like, it's everyone can do something surprising, but everyone will have some comfortable decks for themselves. So, but yeah, I was really happy that the Group C was actually really hard because you had two players of the qualifiers, and you don't know what they will, because we have to submit our decks 2 days before Dreamhack. But I didn't know the other two guys in my group, and I can make only my decks against Nimsh, so I was just focusing a bit on Nimsh. I had one really good deck that bought me the win, actually, that gave me the 2 wins after I was 1-0 behind. I knew that deck could win against all his 3 decks, probably 3 decks. But yeah, I couldn't only focus on Nimsh because I had to play 2 other guys of the BOC.
Yeah, and your playoff opponent turned out to be Reynad, and we talked a bit about him earlier, and you said that he was a bit of a tough opponent for you. Can you tell us a bit why you felt that he was a hard matchup for you?
I'm really a control player, so I bring 3 really control decks into the tournament. And Reynad had the Hunter deck, and I knew all my 3 decks were bad against Hunter. Actually, in the top 8, he was like, maybe Nimsh will play Hunter too, but he was the only player that would actually bring a Hunter deck. So I was really hoping that I wouldn't face Reynad. So, but yeah, I knew when I knew Reynad was my opponent, I was almost sure he will start with the Hunter. So I started with my Shaman. What was a really good matchup because he didn't run that much traps, no explosive traps, so he really relied on the Unleash the Hounds. But yeah, he had to Unleash the Hounds, and what I heard from the other players, he top decked the Hunter's Mark for my big Unbound Elemental, and yeah, after the game, after that play, the game was lost actually. But yeah, if he didn't have the Unleash in that hand, I could actually win probably against this Hunter and probably take the series. But yeah, I really didn't want to face Reynad. He knows me really good too, so, and he really prepares well for the tournament with Tempo Storm. They are probably a bit ahead of other teams with practice and stuff. So I really wanted to take another player into the top 8, but yeah, I'm still really proud of my performance here for the first one.
Definitely, and now you are, as you said, you're known for being a control player. A lot of people think of the Miracle Rogue as something like it's semi-control, sort of. But you don't like that at all. You don't like it at all. You were one of only 2 players, I believe, who didn't at all bring a Miracle Rogue to this tournament. Could you tell us a bit about why you chose not to and how you feel about that Miracle Rogue?
Yeah, there were 2 reasons for me that I didn't bring the Miracle Rogue. Miracle Rogue is actually the best deck in this tournament, I think. But the point for me was I was really thinking like the other players all will have really big counters against Miracle. I expected way more counters against Miracle than there are now at the moment. And for another reason, I don't feel that comfortable with Miracle Rogue. Actually, it is really strong, but if you don't have the really good draws and don't draw the Auctioneer, I still don't like the deck that much. And yeah, I thought the opponents will have way bigger counters to the Miracle deck, more aggro decks, and yeah, maybe it was a bit too much mind games for me. But yeah, that was the reason for me that I didn't bring Miracle Hunter into Dreamhack.
Would you say it comes down to sort of being uncomfortable with the amount of sort of reliance on chance that there is in Miracle? Like when it goes off, but if you don't quite get those cards, it stalls. And I know you've talked about aggro in general, that you feel like it's a lot about those draws, and that's sort of what makes you want to play control instead, because you have more options, you have more control over specifically what you're doing. Is that something that's in your mind when you say that you don't quite like Miracle?
Yeah, and it's also just a bit personal preference, I think. Like, I play Druid from the first day, and I always try to make new Druid decks and keeping my best Druid decks on. And I also like the handlock because it's a really good counter for the Miracle Rogue, actually, in my opinion. With all the 3 decks, I practiced a lot for Dreamhack. All my 3 decks were actually really okay how I made them with some specific cards against Miracle. So I had 2 of my decks were above 50% win rate against it. So and also in the group stage I was 2-0 against Miracle Rogue after I was 0-1 behind. So I wasn't that scared actually with my decks for the Miracle Rogues, and yeah, what I said, I really expected big counters from other players against Miracle Rogue.
Now there's 3 players who've gone through already. Reynad, RDU, and Reels just now, and Amaz and Nimsh are playing currently. Out of those, is there anyone that you're sort of going to be cheering for?
I really want that. I really hope that Nimsh will win it. I really like Nimsh. He's a cool guy, and I hope Nimsh will take it. It gives also a good feeling for me because I won against Nimsh maybe. But nah, all the 4 players that will be in the semi-finals, they all deserve it. And yeah, but I hope that they actually will change the setup a bit. Like a best of 5 will be probably a better format for tournaments like this. A best of 3 is really hard sometimes, and I like the best of 5 format for this tournament. But I hope Nimsh will win Dreamhack, I think.
Okay, this has been Sun Tzu, and thank you for the interview, and we'll see you later.